Hey guys, welcome back to Ghost and Friends. SEC Unfiltered back in the house, represented by the one and only Mr. Cole Thompson. How we doing, Cole?
I'm the friend tonight. Hello, everybody. Apparently, I have the Energizer Bunny mentality, and so Ghost has to try and keep up with me. Got my jug of water that I'm just going to be chugging throughout the show to keep the liveliness zapping. Texas, welcome to the College Football National Championship conversation. Hate to be that guy. Don't hate to be that guy. Literally, you look like it yesterday.
I am going to take that, and we can end the show right there if you would like. I'm completely okay with that.
It was a fun hour that we planned, and we knocked it all out within 90 seconds. So congratulations, Longhorn Nation. I did your favor.
Go. There you go. Welcome to the College Football Playoff and National Championship conversation. So we are here to recap week 2 around the college football landscape. Cole, Texas, Michigan, I obviously have to start there. What were your initial thoughts as you were watching that first half kind of play out? If you were watching, I'm assuming you were. And then kind of by the time the fourth quarter hits, all zeros on the clock, what were your final impressions?
The fact that when you were able to go have an inside look at what goes on behind closed doors was really intriguing to me, because of Texas in years past, they feel like that they'll wake up, they'll have this big energy, they'll go ahead and they'll deliver dominance, and then the performance on the field doesn't match it. They have this mentality of being not showboaty, that's not the right word, but very much a hyped up roster. Well, Jeff Banks is on the camera and he's falling asleep inside the chair, and it's just like, oh, that's natural because they know that they're going to deliver. They feel confident and they feel like a team that is not going to be rattled. And for me, the best way I can put it is Texas, Michigan to Michigan in their own backyard. I mean, Michigan for years has been known as a physical dominant force in a mentality aspect where they will run it down your throat. They will deliver the punch. They're not afraid to go ahead and clap back. More importantly, they want to go ahead and make you feel like you got to scream uncle. And that was Texas's mentality yesterday. They marched on into the big house. They made it incredibly quiet by the start of the third quarter, and they delivered on all aspects of the game. They were physical up front. There were a couple of penalties, but you'll take that if you get more consistency on the ground. Quinn Ewers looked like a Heisman-worthy caliber performance guy. The crazy part is Quinn at this point now is the most dangerous man with the football in his hands whenever he has to play against top 10 teams on the road in week 2 in blue blood locations. That's just a fact when you look at the last 2 years. They had a great defensive performance. I think overall, the way that you saw Andrew Makuba step up, the way that you saw this defensive line step up, the way that you saw these linebackers kind of corral, not make too many mental mistakes, it really was a final score of 38-6, but it's going to read 30. What was it? 38-12. If I'm blanking on it.
31-12.
31-12. Yeah, it was really 31-6, but you gave it that late touchdown. Nobody's really going to count that. It was explosive plays. Like they said, 213 yards for Davis Warren. Like 98 of them came on that last drive. So go ahead and tip your cap to do that against a national championship team, where it looks night and day difference. And there is a truth of everything that we can kind of say. There's a middle ground. Maybe Michigan is not that same roster that is from 2023. Maybe they're not. But they're still the same aura. You have Colston Loveland. You have Kenneth Grant. You have Mason Graham. You have Josiah Stewart. You have Will Johnston. You have great safety play. You have Blake. You have Donovan Edwards, who I see many people saying, I want to go ahead and have a refund for the college football video game because why is he on the cover of it? Like, there's so many avenues that we can go with here of you still have that aura about yourself. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter what type of physical brand of football you were going to play. Texas was going to deliver. And the crazy part is that in years past, it feels like that Texas would have played really well in this type of game and then immediately fumbled it back. Remember last year, we watched them play against Wyoming, and it was all the way into the fourth quarter. It looked like Alabama, South Florida yesterday. Like very much a what's going on? We just played against one of the toughest teams in the country. And here we are now playing close to Craig Bowles' Laramie squad. No, that's not okay. this is a performance that I don't think you have to worry about going into next week or the following week. There is an aspect about this team that we mean business. We have arrived. We are going to be the forcers. We're going to be the annihilators. You want to throw a punch at us? You get one shot. You get one shot to knock us out. And if you can't do that, I hate to do this to you, but we're just going to go ahead and beat you to oblivion or until you cry back home to mommy. Like, that's the feel of Texas right now. And the other part that's really great about this team is that I get a lot of flack for saying that there's not an elite wide receiver. There's a lot of B+ receivers that could be A+ receivers. I said that, and some people were like, how dare you say this about Isaiah Bond, or how dare you say this about Matthew Cole? They don't have to be elite. They just have to be good enough because of the swarm of characters that surrounds the squad right now is second to none. And everyone has an assignment. The vertical, it's Isaiah Bond, it's Silas Bolden. The red zone targets, it's going to go to Matthew Golden. You get
that way.
And in Gunnar Helm, a phenomenal performance from Gunnar Helm yesterday. And as a big Gunnar Helm supporter, there is nothing more that lit a smile on my face than watching Gunnar Helm actually ball out. I love everything about his performance in that game, especially as a blocker as well. You also know that you're going to get a lot of good plays in the spark plug from Ryan Wingo. So you have these role players that have truly understood what the assignment is, and they're crushing it. They're delivering you A+ worthy caliber performances. And you add it all together, that's good enough to win you a title. That's good enough to put you in that conversation. You have clearly entered the premises of do not F around and find out what we can do. You don't want to F around and find out what we can do. And the worst thing is that you're kind of hoping that Texas maybe does get that first round bye. Because case in point, top 10 teams against Quinn Ewers when they have to play on the road is a recipe for disaster. Once again, he balls out. Heisman-worthy performance. It's a performance that I think that a lot of people are going to say this Texas team is legit.
Going back to your Quinn comments, I mean, we were so close to Quinn potentially being 3-0 in the last few years. In week 2, I know one game was at DKR against Alabama. Obviously, he gets hurt towards the end of the first quarter, but I think he completed 80% of his passes in the first quarter, threw for over 100 yards.
He was a better quarterback that day. Damn, he was better than Bryce at that point. He was.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, we still almost took down Bryce in Alabama without the man for 3 quarters. But yeah, it makes it feel pretty warm inside, brother, when you're going on and talking about the horns and the way that we look. And a lot of fans, we haven't seen this in a very, very long time, multiple decades since we've had a team that just kind of has a mission feel to it, and you can say all you want, hey, we're on a mission, revenge tour, et cetera. So you can make whatever label for your team or whatever quote or slogan you want, but you have to go out there and back that up. And the way that Texas, like you said, handled Michigan from a physical standpoint was very impressive to me. And kind of for myself, after the first drive with the missed field goal, Michigan doing nothing, I could see the way that we were going to play them, and we were essentially just disrespecting their passing game, and for good reason, because they don't have the O-line to hold up and then pass protection, and they don't have the bodies at wide receiver, in my opinion, to beat Texas and a few other of the better and more athletic defenses that they'll see on that schedule. I felt really, really good. But that is not to say, hey, we can't blow this. And so to go forward, see Texas step on the throat, it did feel really, really good. Quick comparison. I've tried the last, 12 hours or so to think about this Michigan team and try to find a comparison in years past. And being a Texas guy, the best that I could do, I was thinking 2010 Texas Longhorns. Went to the national championship game in 2009, lost. Obviously, Michigan won their title. Returned several pieces on a very good defense that would go on to have great NFL careers, but had a putrid offense. And because of the bad offense, obviously wore down the defense, and you know how it goes. We go 5-7. And so I hope that's not Michigan's future. Do you think there's a chance for recovery for this Michigan team? Do you think they can figure it out at quarterback or with the offense to help out the defense? What are you thinking?
The crazy thing is that even though the SEC has not looked elite to start off the year, they haven't. And we can just go ahead and call a spade a spade. It hasn't.
Yep.
You still realize that the top half of the SEC would beat the living dog breaks out of most teams in the Big Ten. So there's room to believe that, yes, you can easily turn the corner. Things can get right back on the course. It's not going to be the most easy task. I mean, USC is coming to town in 2 weeks? And now you're talking about a team that last year was the laughingstock because they didn't have the bully mentality. They go out and they hire Danton Lynn, and 2 weeks into the job, he is your Burroughs Award winner. Like, honestly, at this point, you're going to have somebody ball out in ways I have not seen for him not to take home the award. It's just unfathomable.
Drastic improvement.
USC's legit. Offensively, they're a masterclass of chaos for you. But I still look at a team like Oregon, and they feel susceptible to be able to drop a game. And I don't know who it's to, but definitely the last two performances, you're not feeling confident that they're going to go undefeated. You're certainly not feeling confident that they're going to go beat Ohio State with the way they played. So you can easily win that one. I think that you still have a good identity. There's a giant difference, Ghost, when you look at these two squads of just where they are. I still think that you're getting a good Michigan team. It's not a bad Michigan team. They're probably not going to the playoff. They're probably not going to Indianapolis. They're probably going to be about 8 or 9 wins. But 8 or 9 wins when you don't have a quarterback, when you lose the heart and soul of your entire offense, for my money, in Blake Corum, you rebuild your offensive line. It says a lot about the culture that you have that's left behind with Sharon Moore. And I think that that's what's going to keep them afloat. It's bad. And again, you're talking about the transfer portal, you're talking about NIL and how much these programs you're watching invest. Literally, it's baffling to look at how Clemson played yesterday against Appalachian State.
Great point.
And we're talking about if you have one wide receiver last year that went in the transfer portal, one, Adonai Mitchell, Keon Coleman, one of them, you're probably in the playoff. And if you're not in the playoff, you certainly are in Charlotte for a matchup against Florida State for a chance to go to the playoff. You 100% are. And you probably at least keep things interesting against Georgia in week 1 to where our opinion about you is still you're a top 15 squad. You're not this laughingstock. And Michigan didn't do a damn thing to upgrade their quarterback room. They didn't do a damn thing to upgrade one side of their offensive line. They lose 5 starters. And I get that you care about certain criterias and an aura and a culture. But when it's college football and fans are looking for the next one, like the happy-go-lucky honeymoon period is great for all of a hop, skip, and a cup of coffee. And then immediately they're right back to wanting to see you go win another title. What's next? College football fans are the backbone of my livelihood. They're a reason I connect with them. I eat, live, and breathe this sport. It is everything that I have to hold on to besides my dogs and my wife. I absolutely love everything about college football. But fans are batshit crazy. They are, and they want it immediately. Like Texas, you heard people saying that Sark wasn't the guy when they went 5-7 with players that were recruited by Tom Herman. You heard people. There's still people that still don't believe that he's the guy because of what happened last year.
We talked about that last week on the show, but the Monday before, or a week tomorrow. I was just flabbergasted because I saw a couple comments about, Sark in the first quarter of Colorado State game couldn't get it figured out. And it's crazy to me, man. They are an absolute nutty bunch. And I'm going to be honest with you, up until about 3 or 4 seasons ago, I was right there along with them. But when Sarkisian came around, I just knew. I was like, you know what? We're in the very bottom right now. Like, we've got a ton to fix. And I don't know. It was something about the Sark hire just naturally made me a better person and a better fan.
But the crazy part is
the Sark effect.
But Ghost, the crazy part is that there's so many people that aren't great people. They are.
Oh, no. Absolutely.
They want immediate results. Like, I mean, we're talking about, okay, like Ohio State. It's the most mind-boggling stat of all that Ryan Day is entering year 6. He has 9 losses, and yet somehow he is on the hot seat. He's been to multiple college football playoff appearances. He has won a Big Ten title. It was in 2020, but he still won the damn thing. He has yet to have anything less than 10 wins in a season. And yet, if he does not win this year against Michigan, you got to fire him. Now, to be fair, this version of Michigan that you saw, yes, you fire him because of, oh my God, it's awful. What you're not, right. It's your kryptonite. But still, the question is, and this is where I look at it from a coaching standpoint, this guy gets 10 losses in 6 years and you have to go in and replace him. What expectations do you have as a fan base to think that you're going to get the right person? Who wants that job? But that's the beauty of college football, of why the fans absolutely own the sport. And it's why I get disgusted at half the time when we see these changes. Like the fact that Notre Dame still has a shot to go to the college football playoff after losing to Northern Illinois because their schedule may get them to 11-1. It is the dumbest thing out there. But yet here we are. Bureaucrats wanted to destroy our sport. And you know what? Now we have to go ahead and find ways to now root against teams that don't deliver on Saturdays. We root against Colorado. We root against Notre Dame. We have to see 2 losses with next to their name simply because they don't belong after performances that they have put on.
Well, I mean, that's a perfect lead-in to the next game that I wanted to bring up, but dude, I didn't watch a second of Notre Dame. I had no clue about anything that was going on until there's 4.5 minutes left in the game. I get a couple of texts. I was driving down the road. I'm like, oh, I got to pop it on. And I mean, like, that's insane to me. How did it happen? They don't belong in. I mean, you can't recover from that. I'm not going to even ask if you can recover from that. You can't recover from that. You're going to drop another game at some point, and a 2-loss Notre Dame, to me, with a Northern Illinois loss, you can't be a playoff team, right?
You can't be a playoff team regardless if you go 11-1. I'm sorry.
Okay, good. No,
and that's not an insult to Northern Illinois. It's the biggest win in program history for the Huskies. I got to give them their credit. And you know what the best part is? That team is led by a Husky. There is something about when you have a coach that wants to right the wrongs, fix the culture, bring back dominance to a program that just warms your heart when they do this. But then we have to look at it from the other lens. And the other lens was the offense was anemic. The defense was good enough, but good enough against Northern Illinois is not good. It's not good. When you're going back and forth, delivering blows of missed field goals after missed field goals, they outwork you in almost every single category. 3rd down, total yards allowed, passing yards, completion percentage, rushing yards. I mean, 190. And this was a team that a week ago took down a 5-star quarterback and really kept A&M's offense in check. And now you're talking about in your home opener against a team that last year wasn't anything. And
Nothing.
now you were projected to finish 3rd in the MAC. Which, by the way, I love Maction, and I'm always going to root for Maction to have upsets. Like, we may see Toledo next week find a way to hold their own against Mississippi State. Like, it may happen. Like, it truly may happen. But you
depends on if that's first half Mississippi State or second half Mississippi State from Tempe. I mean, we'll talk about that one too. But go ahead.
But you look at this game, and you just look at the way that there was no life. There was never a sense of a pulse for this offense, and there was also no switch up. Nothing. It just felt like, you know what? We're just going to continue to do the same thing, and we just want to come away with a win. It's very similar to what you saw in different ways, but still similar to the LSU-USC game, where one coach was trying to go for the win in a David versus Goliath situation, and the other coach was trying not to lose. But you figured, okay, well, we're not supposed to lose. Marcus Freeman is not on the hot seat. We can stop that charade right now. This year, he's not. They can go 10-2. I mean, they can go 9-3. He's not on the hot seat.
Agreed.
But it's getting to a point where you have to see something. You have to see progress. You have to see growth. You have to see the adaptability, because of Notre Dame has been great at building offensive linemen. They've been great when it comes to the tight end room. And in years past, they are getting the right defensive players. Their development of talent has been one of the biggest blessings out in South Bend. And it's why when Brian Kelly was there, they went to college football playoffs. He wasn't always getting 5 stars. He was getting a lot of 3 stars. He was getting some 4 stars. They were elevating their status. And ultimately, it ended up being a quality overall roster because of the way that you develop the players. Well, now you're getting the 5 stars. Now you get the kids that were looking at LSU, looking at Ohio State, looking at Michigan, looking at programs like Penn State, Alabama, and they're saying, no, I want to go play for Marcus Freeman. I want to go play for somebody who speaks defense, is younger, has a better feel of what to expect when it comes to college football, and delivers. That's what you get. And so for me, you see that, and you get so confident that they're going to finally turn the corner. But they don't. They just don't. It's the same story. You play down to the competition against a team. Like, think about this. He's now lost to Marshall, and he's lost to Northern Illinois in 2 of his first 3 years. And you also went out and you brought in quarterbacks that you liked. I mean, it's one thing to have Ian Book. I get that. But then you go out and you add in Sam Hartman. And Hartman was a baller at Wake Forest, and you had a good rushing attack. I mean, Audric Estime last year was a bowling ball of madness. Jeremiah Love this year, I think, is actually one of the best running backs in college football, just from a skill standpoint.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't get anything going. And the anemic play calling, you lose Gerard Parker to Troy. You bring in Mike Denbrock. Denbrock gets paid an egregious amount to go be your offense coordinator, and he has options. And you're looking at the squad right now, and you're saying the only positive that we can take away is that the conversations about us being a college football playoff team are going to stop. And maybe that ends up helping us get back on course to where we go 11-1.
It could release some expectations. Yeah, I mean, free you up a little bit in a sense, like you're saying. But I mean, speaking of, the new OC hire, a lot of people thought that's all that Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman were lacking, was a little bit more excitement on offense, a little bit better of a schemer on offense. And then, they look okay against a really good, in my opinion, a really good A&M defense in week 1.
Yep.
And then you follow it up with that. And there's a reason I didn't watch any of Notre Dame before that last bit in the fourth quarter, because I didn't expect to need to watch Notre Dame. I didn't have any inkling that would be a game that would be play out the way that it did. But go ahead.
No, just the crazy part is that how many people come for you in the comments. And this is the one thing that I tell people all the time. Mentally, you got to be tough to handle this job, because I'll get flack from everyone saying, how dare you not say Notre Dame is a top 10 team? And then you say Notre Dame is a top 10 team after the way they play against A&M, and they go ahead and they let you down, and now you're eating crow twice. And it's really annoying. How dare you say it? Yeah. Lol, you said they were a top 10 team. Because the way that defense played against Notre Dame, that was a top 10 performance. The way they played against NIU, I wouldn't rank them this week.
No. I mean, you can't give up that many yards on the ground against that caliber of a team and have any excuses for yourself whatsoever. That's just how it is. When you talk about having some hope and talking about finding something throughout the season, and not to talk too much Notre Dame here, but I mean, with that schedule, I mean, what is your definition of maybe hope? Improvement on offense, maybe getting more excited. I know that one of the answers is going to be just, hey, go win a big game. You don't have many of them on the schedule. You have to go win one. That's going to be a huge thing, obviously, for Freeman. But what are your thoughts there?
You're going to have to, I think, establish something, whatever it is, whether it be the rushing attack, whether finding a number one receiver, whether getting just Mitchell Evans more involved. That was a really good tight end that missed most of last year due to an injury. He's back fully healthy. If you got to switch up and move off Riley Leonard, you got to move off Riley Leonard. This is a team that, again, they don't get the benefit of the doubt because they're in a conference. They don't get to lose a game like this and then feel okay if they get to go play in conference championship Saturday to get that first round bye. Automatically, Notre Dame will never get a first round bye unless they are undefeated and there are two other teams that aren't. And even still, depending on the level of competition they play, at best they might be as a 5 seed. That's always going to be the case for Notre Dame because they don't play in a conference. But at 11-1, and the part that people don't want to go admit, that I, as a college football loyalist, purist, and true fan, will say they're a big brand. They're a big brand that draws in major eyeballs that people will pay an egregious amount to see on television. And whether you like it and whether I like it and whether I think that it's fair or just, there's a good shot that a Big 10 team, a Big 12 team, an ACC team, or an SEC team is left out if Notre Dame can go run the table and be 11-1. And the other part is that Notre Dame in this performance, the good news for them is that maybe they will end up getting some good wins. Louisville right now is ranked 19th. They could potentially move up next week. You play them in 2 weeks on September 28th. Georgia Tech, they were ranked. Maybe they'll get right back to being ranked. And their only loss comes to a really good, underrated Syracuse squad that I think is actually, they were one of my sleepers at the start of the year. They look legit. I mean, we owe Kyle McCord a bunch more apologies than I think we give him credit for. Maybe Florida State turns the corner, USC at the end of the year. There's still a shot that where at the end of the day, you'll have 4 ranked wins and this Northern Illinois loss doesn't affect you. But for me, I'm out. I mean, you are supposed, the entire premise of the college football playoff Ghost is to get the 4 best teams in the postseason. And when Cincinnati got in, they got in because of they lost 1 game in 2 years and everyone else decided to crap the bed on conference championship weekend. And so you had to reward them.
Yep.
You don't have to reward Notre Dame for this type of performance, for this anemic, lackluster, lull type of showcase. And you certainly don't have to reward them just because they're the Golden Domers and that people like to hate on them. If they don't belong, they don't belong. And I don't think you belong when you lose to a MAC squad where they're in control all the way after the first drive. It literally, after the first drive, it was Northern Illinois, and if they made a mistake, you were lucky to capitalize. If Notre Dame made a mistake, Northern Illinois did. And that's a difference. And unfortunately, that's not the way college football works. And that's not the way that bureaucrats are going to control the sport. And it's not the way that I absolutely love the sport and the way that I fell in love with the game. And I'm a Notre Dame fan. I grew up a Notre Dame fan. My grandfather, rest in peace, every Saturday I'd sit on his couch. We would watch the Fighting Irish. Big Irish Catholic. Love the Irish. And I can't say that they belong in the playoff. Even as a closet Notre Dame fan, which again is basically like saying that you are the scum of the earth to some people, I can't say that they belong in the playoff. They don't.
I'm with you, man. I fully with you. I unfortunately agree that they don't belong, but we know how it works. I'm going to go ahead and assume that if they can find a way to go 10-2, that they'll be playing, in the college football playoff. If they lose 3 games, and at the beginning of the year, I said they'd go 9-3, and they would get in the playoffs over, like you just said, over one of the other conference teams that deserved it. And I challenged them. I said, just beat somebody. Well, then they beat A&M. Yep. And I was like, oh, okay. There's no way in hell they lose 3 games. Well, now I'm actively rooting for it because I don't want to see them in the playoffs. And I genuinely believe that 2 or 1 loss, they'll still get the invite in. And my big thing, if I was a committee member, I'm just looking at the resume over the past. And it's not fair to do to the roster or the coaches, but they haven't beat anybody. They don't beat anyone. They don't beat anyone in the playoffs. Notre Dame is great for the sport. The sport is, I hate to be a cliche, is a little better when Notre Dame is good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm rooting against that scenario. I don't want to see them in the playoffs. They blew it for me. But what a terrific story for Northern Illinois, their head coach. That speech was awesome. Just 2 minutes of gold. You could tell he poured his heart and soul through that program, obviously as a player, now a coach. And that was fantastic, a fantastic watch.
It's why you love college football. It's what made you fall for the game to begin with, knowing that there is any Saturday that the better team does not come prepared, and the team that had no shot, that nobody was talking about or even paying close attention to, now gets rewarded and gets to be ranked in the AP poll. That's why you fell in love with the sport. But Absolutely. I will say, college football is good when blue bloods are good. I know that people don't want to hear it. I know that it's bad. I know that you like seeing the underdog story. I love seeing the underdog story. But there's something about knowing that USC is going to be a threat on Saturdays that warms your heart because they get to play the villain. There's something about Texas being at an elite peak level that warms your heart because they get to be now your biggest test. There's something about Nebraska having great atmosphere and an environment that has always been there, and the fan base is loyal and they eat, live, and breathe Husker football. And now it gets to be rewarded with actual quality play. There's something about Tennessee. There's something about Miami. There's something about these big programs that have had excellent and also heinous fan bases on the social media atmosphere, which is god-awful for us that we have to listen to when we're wrong. But there's something about them being good. There is a world that we live in where, unfortunately, because of the way that the 12-team playoff works, Nebraska, Notre Dame, Miami, USC, Texas, and Tennessee, they're all playoff teams. They're all in the conversation. They are. And you know what?
My childhood's
good
coming
for the
back.
Sport.
It's beautiful. Beautiful for the sport. Like you said, for me, Miami, USC, something about those 2 programs. It's just the swagger of the U. I know that's literally cliche as hell, but just to see them walking or running around the way that they kind of handled Florida in that game, as far as just an attitude wise, I was like, wow, that looks like a different Miami. And then obviously the physicality of USC and their defense against LSU. And then again last night, it's like, wow. I mean, and going back to USC, it's pretty crazy that we're talking about in week 4, there's a chance, and maybe not even saying there's a chance. I feel like it will be the case that USC will be a more physical football team than Michigan. That is something that I never in a million years thought that I would say 3 weeks ago. But
I don't think anybody did. I mean, it would be completely honest. Like the team that we have seen the last 2 weeks is a top 10 team. It is a college football playoff team. It is a team that can hold their own in the Big Ten. And they're going to have multiple appearances to do so. They don't play next week. They get to play against Michigan in 2 weeks. They get to play against Penn State. They get to play against Nebraska. They get to play against UCLA. They get to play against Notre Dame. All those teams are going to be either a rival matchup or they're going to be ranked. You also still got to remember Washington right now is 2-0. So maybe that's a better version.
Yeah.
And they look more physical. They look better. And the crazy part is it started just with the basics. You listen to some people that left USC and they talk about the way that practices are in the SEC or other programs at the ACC, and they're saying it is a night and day difference. The way that we're practicing is the way we performed on Saturdays underneath Alex Grinch. And Danton Lim came on in and said, we're changing things. You're giving me full control. You're going to let me do what I think is best for the squad. And I'm going to be the reason why you are going to have a shot to win a college football playoff. It is. And the big thing is the most underlying story, Ghost, is we have to admit right now that Lincoln Riley royally messed up by holding on to Alex Grinch because of there's not talents like Caleb Williams that grow on trees.
Wasted.
I love Miller Moss. And honestly, for me personally, the thing that I love about Miller Moss and the thing that I loved about that game on Sunday last week was that you saw two quarterbacks that were okay waiting their turn to be the guy. They were okay learning the ins and outs, the intricacies of the offense. So when it was their turn, they were going to deliver. And they both have. But it's Miller Moss and it's Caleb freaking Williams. And you wasted Caleb. You wasted a talent.
How pissed is he? How pissed is Caleb Williams watching that USC defense over the last 2 weeks?
Listen, I am a very well-known, apparently, Lincoln Riley hater. I'm okay with wearing that title. They say that he runs some competition. He's not right now, so I have to eat a little bit of crow. I'm okay with saying that. But if I'm Caleb Williams, I have him blocked. I have him blocked until he wins a college football playoff game. I have him blocked on Twitter. I block his number because of I'm watching that defense and I'm saying to myself, you couldn't do that for me? I mean, their wide receiver core is also is the deepest I have seen since that Lane Kiffin squad with Matt Barkley when it was Marquise Lee and it was Robert Woods and it is the deepest I have seen them. They, top to bottom, they have so much talent. Zachariah Branch, like, I don't want to bring this up because there are certain players like Ghost. I have this rule, just plain simple. If you are a special player in the history of college football, nobody's allowed to talk about you. Like you're not. Remember when they said like, oh yeah, KJ Jefferson is the closest we're gonna see in camp for Cam Newton at UC. It's like, you shut your whore mouth. You cannot say those things. That is a special player that we do not forget. Like Diego Pavia.
That's blasphemy, man.
Diego Pavia has won my heart. He has absolutely won me over. And he said, oh, I'm more like Johnny Manziel. You stop talking. Stop it. Stop it. That is a one-on-one player.
Oh, yeah.
But Zachariah Branch is the closest thing I have seen since Percy Harvin. And the way that they can utilize him is just, it's scary how he should be used. And then, of course, you got the other guys that are mixed in, very young up-and-comers. Deuce Alexander is really good. He was a tight end. Luke McRae, the tight end, is like leading the team in receptions right now. Kyron Hudson with the big play last week. Kyle Ford, Jacoby Lane. And they got a good run game, and the offensive line is being more physical. Like, it's not the USC that we knew for the last decade plus. It's the USC that we feared back in 2004 when Pete Carroll had the roster that looked unbeatable. And the worst part is that it's Lincoln Riley leading the charge. The guy that said, I'm not going to the SEC. I'm going to the Pac-12. Oh, and by the way, I'd rather get rid of the Shillelagh game and get rid of the Shillelagh pipe tradition with Notre Dame if it means we get in the playoff. And it's like, you don't have to, because now your team is just good enough to go toe-to-toe with the Notre Dame. Yep. And probably you're even better to where it's going to be a 21 skunk by halftime.
I like USC's chances of doing a lot of things this year. I'm not going to get over, myself here, but I think that USC has looked, if 2 or 3 times as good as I would have predicted them to preseason. I really, I had to see it with the defense first. I was fully in the boat. It can't get any worse. It has to improve. It's just how much does it improve? We'll find out. But it's light years in a very short amount of time that they've improved because of the physicality and several mentions that you just, or several reasons that you just mentioned as far as the practice routine and who's actually in charge and running things. And it's great for the sport. Now, I honestly I definitely probably have them in my top 7 or 8. I don't know about you, but I think they look dang good right now.
I listed them this morning at 7. And honestly, I think that 7 is probably the highest I can go. Yeah. Just because of, again, it's Utah State. and it still is LSU. I mean, for me, the big thing with LSU was LSU played to not lose, and USC played to win. And that was the difference in the game. I mean, it was the second half in that game, and I know that we're talking about week 2, but the second half of that game, you have a wide receiver that looks unguardable in Kyron Lacey. By the way, 3 touchdowns yesterday out back home in Baton Rouge. Looks unguardable. You don't target him once. And the anemic play calling and the Monday 3 and out or quick third down. Garrett Nussmeier basically having to play hero ball and still finding creases open. And their pass protection is really good, and their run blocking is shit, and they find a way to be just good enough. And Lincoln Riley says, nope, we are not doing that. We're not going to be good enough. We're going to be good. We are going to be good. And so let's see what they can do. They got a week off. They get a time to regroup. They get time to rest, and then they get to go play Michigan. And if you beat Michigan, and you beat Michigan, again, you beat Michigan at Michigan. And you out physical Michigan. It says something. It does.
Yeah.
And it's the same way I can say confidently right now that this version of Texas, this mentality, this aura, this energy is back in the building. It's back on the 40 acres. It's back to a level of what was sustainable for years where you were the team that people talked about. It's back in Los Angeles. And it may be here for 1 year, and you got to capitalize on it because I'm going to tell you what, D'Anton Lynn is a hot commodity, and I don't know if it's going to be for college football. There's a job that pays a lot of money for defense coordinators at the next level, and he has experience coaching there. And I can tell you what, his name has been floated around multiple times. If he wants to go back to the NFL, he could easily do so with the way he's performed so far. If Jeff Hafley can get a job with the Green Bay Packers, D'Anton Lynn can get a job with any team in the NFL. So you might have to hold on to this, but for 1 year, you get to see what prime USC football is like. You get to see what we as now older millennials, or for you, I guess, I'm not sure. I'm still consider myself a child at heart. We remember what was dominance. Absolute dominance out in the West Coast. A standard, per se, out the West Coast.
Yeah. Celebrities on the sidelines, a full Coliseum. Dominance, very physical defenses, aggressive defenses. You know, I mean, it was a lot of fun to watch. I am a fan of what Lincoln's doing. I have also been a huge, I would just say I question many things that he's done over the last few years. Obviously, with him being at Oklahoma, there was a little bit of bad blood just because he handled this pretty well all the time. But I will give them credit in Southern Cal. They're doing a great thing right now, and they look damn good. So kudos to them. Going back into a little bit of SEC country here, Arkansas lost a heartbreaker. The way it played out, I'm still kind of surprised. I really thought Arkansas had that one. What were your thoughts as you watched Arkansas, Oklahoma State? You think this is like in the end a big deal that the Hogs let this one get away?
Arkansas didn't lose to Oklahoma State. Arkansas beat itself.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I have to be the bad guy here. And I'm okay with being the bad guy. I have already written my villain arc story in Fayetteville. I'm already very much pig roasted by the fans that live out in hog country. I know the natural state thinks that I'm a natural idiot, so I'm okay embracing being this asshole or being this guy. But the bottom line is that it's a culture, and it is a creative culture that starts at the top and it trickles its way down. And in the second half, miscommunication on offense, countless plays on offense that were just blundering mistakes. Defensively, you allowed them to capitalize on missed opportunities. Oklahoma State shot itself in the foot multiple times in the third quarter to where it was not just them getting field goals. They should have had touchdowns. It should have never gone to overtime. It should have never been that case. But they shot themselves in the foot, and your defense did enough to make sure that it was for 3 instead of 6. But still, broken play, explosive play, penalty after penalty after penalty, the muff punt. I mean, it's just, those are mistakes that is created by a culture, Ghost. It's not bad players. Andrew Armstrong was at Texas A&M Commerce, and he looked like the best receiver on the field. He looked better than Rashad Owens. He looked better than Brendan Presley. He did. And that's a dude who, by the way, I think Oklahoma State would love to have a part of their 3-man set. You look at Taylon Green. Taylon Green is like playing double dribble, the video game, where if you get him in the corner for a corner 3, you shoot it, it's unblockable. it's so much fun. It's like he's Tech Mobile. He's Tech Mobile. Bo Jackson. He's at that level of just holy shit. Watch what he does. Like Arkansas is going to be that team that I'm going to pain shame myself to watching simply because they have number 10 on the roster.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you bring in Bobby Petrino, you bring in Travis Williams, you see the emblem, you see it, but you're still making the dumb mistakes where you should walk out a winner. You did so last year against LSU. You did so 2 years ago against Ole Miss. You did so against Oklahoma State. And it just feels like there comes a point where being the fun guy and being the cool coach and being well liked is no longer good enough. It's just it hurts. When I have to start off with a sigh and say he's a good dude, it's already a breakup on the horizon. It is. And the problem is that it's once again the same type of mistakes that we have seen underneath Sam Pittman for the last few years. And I love him, and he's a great guy. And here I go. I feel like I'm having to break up with him. I'm having to go do this long thing, but it's not going to get better. It's not. You've been to the guys. You've been to counseling. You've tried to make the marriage work. You brought more people into the bedroom if you really want to go with that much of a level. You kicked some people out of the bedroom. You had a child.
Oh my God!
It was Taylor Green. It was a great kid, and he's delightful. You can't wait to watch
flourishing.
You can't wait to watch him grow up. But sometimes staying together for the kids is already the worst excuse out there, and you're doing nobody any favors. And you're not doing Sam Pittman any favors by believing that this is going to turn the corner. And you're not doing any favors for these kids to believe that they're going to have a better culture. And at the end of the day, if you're Hunter, you have to rip off the Band-Aid and just start fresh. And the other part that I'm going to say is probably where I lose most Oklahoma State fans. You watch Jonathan Smith depart his program, his alma mater, his team, because if he realized this is as good as it's going to get for us at Oregon State. Mike Gundy is a guy that knows how to take 3 stars and turn them into 5-star talent. He's a guy that knows how to take easy players that absolutely are not supposed to be at programs like Oklahoma or Texas or TCU in the past or LSU, and he makes them really good, and they end up being second-round picks, and they're always competitive, and they know how to win the big one, and they know how to deliver, and there's a lot of money out in the SEC, and there's a job right now in Gainesville, Florida, where eventually he would potentially retire and go out to the Sunshine State. And if I am the Athletic Association of the University of Florida and I am pulling the plug on the Billy Napier experiment, I am making Mike Gundy tell me no. I am doing everything in my power to make Mike Gundy tell me no. Because at this point, you need to get somebody big. You need to get somebody that has proven that they just don't need to be great at recruiting. They need to be great at developing talent.
Agreed.
And you also have to get somebody who has proven that they can win against levels of competition. You're going to watch this year as Oklahoma State finds their way into Arlington. And if you get a healthy Cam Rising, it's going to be against Utah. And they're both going to have 1 loss on the schedule. Probably it's going to be 2 Utah for Oklahoma State. I don't know who it's going to be. Maybe it's Arizona for Utah. And Utah's going to win that game. And the committee is going to say Utah's going to the playoff and Oklahoma State's not. And Mike Gundy's going to have to realize the only way for me to get into the playoff is to be in a conference where they will give us more respect. You've done everything you can there. This is the year where you got to put it together. You have the veteran offensive line. I mean, they have an offensive line ghost that literally has, I kid you not when I tell you this stat, going into the year, they have 168 combined starts together. It is the most veteran offensive line, the Doak Walker award-winning running back, quality wide receivers, and a good enough defense that is just get you by a level of competition.
Exactly.
It has to be done this year. And if it's not, if I'm Mike Gundy, I am making that phone call, get me to the SEC. And honestly, I think it needs to happen.
Fantastic coach, fantastic guy. I think he is up there with anyone as far as game day scheming goes, making adjustments in game. It is really, really hard to see him anywhere else but Stillwater. I'm not ruling that out. It just would be crazy for me to actually see him make that move. Not to say that he won't, not to say that he shouldn't. You're so good at this. I don't know how you did it again, but there's no way that DJ Lagway saves the ship in Florida for Billy Napier.
It's going to be really interesting. I mean, like Billy at this point, let's just get this out. Let's talk about this real fast. I don't care. It was against Stanford. That was the greatest performance I have seen from a freshman quarterback in a hot minute. I mean, the way
I don't care.
Just the throws that he made, the accuracy, the poise in the pocket to deliver, the confidence. That is what you hold on to if you're Billy Napier. And if there's any way possible, if you are Billy, you make him sign an NDA saying, if I am fired, he is walking out the door. So you buy yourself another year. I've literally said multiple times, if you go 4-8, but DJ says, I will transfer if you fire him, he will get a 4th year. Because this is the most important recruit that has come through Florida since Tim Tebow. It is. It is far and away the most important. Gatorade is back on your side. Gatorade is back on your side, and they're doing commercials with this kid because they know how special of a talent he is.
Great point.
But also at the same time, and I'm just going to make this clear, I don't think Lane Kiffin's going to Florida. I see other people going, we're sending down Ole Miss. I'm like, guys, his son is moving to Oxford next year. His daughter is a college student there. He has a great life. He literally gets to up his contract every year because he gets a certain number of wins, and the state regulation that comes for the state of Mississippi, it only gives you a 4-year contract. So you get to elevate your status. All of that aside, you get the positivity. Why would you leave that job if you get to continue to be that great team? And the facilities are going to improve because if you're going to force them to improve, you're going to play Keith Carter's hand and you're going to make things better. But whoever is the next head coach of Florida, the number one, not even if Andrew Butt's priority. Deshaun Watson a few years ago got told, and I don't mean to bring up Deshaun Watson with DJ Lagway, so please don't ever compare these two. I'm making it clear. I'm saying this. When they fired Bill O'Brien, they said Deshaun Watson will have a say in the next head coach and the next GM, and he didn't. And that was when Deshaun said, I want to get traded. I want to be out. I'm not playing for you guys a single minute again. And then there was everything else that happened. But again, you said, and it's on record, Deshaun will have a say in our next head coach and our next GM. You have to let DJ Lagway have the say.
He will be gone. You can't have that happen.
You can't lose him. You can't lose him. That performance yesterday, they're going to beat Texas A&M next week. They will beat Texas A&M next week because of the way that DJ Lagway played. No questions about it. They have 3 good receivers. They have a good running game. I know their offensive line is anemic. It is very mundane. It is very droll. But they have enough to where you like this squad, you like this roster, just to get by against another slap-happy offense that hasn't caught its stride yet. This is where you attack Texas A&M. I think that you beat Texas A&M, and it's because you have DJ Lagway. It is.
I love it. I feel good about Florida and the +4 there, but I don't know how A&M will react to dropping 2 of their first 3. Obviously, the Notre Dame game, a lot of people thought it was a toss-up, but there's no way coming into this season, no chance in hell that there was 1% of Aggies that thought that Florida game was a game that could possibly be losable for them. And I like Florida there, same as you, Cole. I think the DJ is the difference. But so overall, I agree with you. Do whatever you can to keep that man there, even if it's bringing, Billy back for another year. Figure it out, because a great talent like him, he can transcend and do a lot of things that shadow up and cover a lot of mistakes. And so, keep DJ at all costs in Gainesville, in my humble opinion. Let's go to the late game last night. Wait. Can't do that yet. We don't have a ton of time left. And there's one game that we've obviously.
No, we got time. We got another
okay.
20 minutes or so if you need.
Okay. Well, I definitely want to get into this. I thought outside of Texas, and maybe just as much of Texas, if not more so, the most impressive team of the week was.
Don't do this.
A team that I did not give out as my lock of the week, because that would have been That would have been the other side. I thought North Carolina State plus 10 was good as gold, Cole.
I'm already getting it from Vol's Twitter. I'm okay with that.
Oh, no.
I said at the start of the year that this was going to be the reason why Tennessee was kept out of the playoff. I said they were going to go 9-3 and that they were going to lose to NC State. I figured, again, it's a Gibson defense. We know that it is the 3-3-5.
Yeah.
They're gonna force Nico into making a couple mistakes. It's in a neutral site location. It's gonna play well in their favor. It'll be close. It'll be down to the wire. And then Western Carolina happened. And then Western Carolina happened. And I said, okay, well, here's the deal. What's going to happen is it's still going to be a Tony Gibson defense. They're still going to corral Nico into making mistakes. They did. And it's going to be a 5-point win. Go ahead and take NC State plus 10. And it wasn't. And it was a beatdown. It was blowing. It was a bloodbath beyond belief. I had to eat crow last night. I have egg on my face. But I'll tell you what, the one thing you can take away, Ghost, is that Tennessee team is legit. It is.
They look good.
I know it is overreaction. It's Monday morning. Got to go back and check the tape. Everything I saw from Nico is correctable. That was a mistake. That overthrown shot at Brew McCoy, it's correctable. It's getting your arm angle a little bit further down. And by the way, Mackenzie Milton, having him as a quarterback coach on the roster and somebody that can be that voice of reason, it's not just the Polynesian descent. It's the fact that he played less than 10 years ago. He gets what the game is. That is just a blessing in disguise for any young quarterback, and it certainly is one for Nico. But you get that. On top of that, you have your wide receivers that all can beat you. You have great tight end play. You have an offensive line that's giving you time after time after time. And a defense that is going to at least earn respect. It's not going to be elite. It's not going to be perfect every single week, but you will have to go into game prep at least respecting this unit. That's what you saw last night. That's what you saw in Charlotte. And again, you look at Oklahoma, they went down to the wire and they needed a safety to make sure they corralled a win against Houston. That got boat raced by UNLV. You look at Auburn. Auburn looked bloodily awful. I mean, disgustingly bad. And Hugh Freeze, the only person to blame is yourself. There's no other way to put it.
Yep.
You look at Alabama. I mean, sorry, South Florida gave you the win. And I'm not trying to be like, oh yeah, they like it could have happened another way. No, they kicked a field goal and they said, okay, we're done. Here, just beat us. Like, we got our money. We showed the College Football Playoff Committee that if we go 11-1, we're good enough to be that G5 school. Go ahead. You can win. We don't care. Nick Saban, we love him. Like, we're going to give you this one. Have fun. Bye-bye. But you can beat all them if you're Tennessee. You can beat all them soundly. You can easily be over with them. And their linebacking core is going to get better. It's already the most underappreciated unit in all of college football, and it will get better. And their run game will get better. There's so much to like about the direction of this team. To where this was the start of something special. Nico is going to go to the Big Apple in one of his 2 years. He is going to be a reason why Tennessee wins the SEC. And those are words that I did not think I was going to have to say. And the other part, Ghost, I have to say is now Vol's Twitter, which is the most annoying fan base. Their culture. Knoxville is one of the greatest places in all of college football. I love Knoxville. I love Neyland. I love Rocky Top. I love the fan base. Vol's Twitter is a cesspool of madhouses and evil villains. And they do that shit when they are 6 and 7.
Now they have
a reason to complain.
Was it Voldemort that got you?
Oh, it was
dude, I love that cat. I had a run in with Vol Twitter literally within the first 2 weeks of us being officially in the SEC, back in July. And I was like, these cats are relentless. 2 or 3 straight days of a notification every 2 minutes. And I was like, okay, let's find a way to get on the other side of this ship and work it out with them. I don't have much more for you. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Okay. I want you to give me one word or school name. Or sorry, the first word that pops to your head when I say this school name or this player. Cam Scattaboo.
Sparky. Mascot is Sparky, and he's that spark plug. Kenny Dillingham. Has himself a dude. He has himself a dude. Literally, he does everything, and it's really fun to watch.
I love the flex at the end after the long, the 25, 30-yard run or what it was to ice it. I was like, this guy, he loves it. He's having a good time. He's about to go have a hell of a good time in about an hour after this game wraps up. But
Sparky. Sparky.
All right. And then I got this. Who is the most overrated team in the top 25 in your eyes?
Notre Dame, number one. I mean, I have to, because if it's Notre Dame, you don't get to play that way and get to be rewarded. You don't. 18.
They shouldn't be ranked. Sorry.
They should or they shouldn't?
They shouldn't. Absolutely shouldn't. No. Like, we should relegate them almost. I don't. Obviously, we can't do that, but it's yeah, absolutely. And then let's
Nebraska.
do the most.
Nebraska.
I love it.
The
most overrated?
No, overrated.
Okay.
It's Colorado. It's a culture. They follow the leader, and the culture is bad. And the culture was bad last week when you were celebrating having a performance like that against FCS North Dakota State. I'm not gonna give you your flowers yet. They've good.
Lost like 9 out of 11 games.
You're good. Matt Rule is the right guy. I'm not putting you in the top 25 yet. I can't do it.
I can respect that. A lot of opportunities for Nebraska to prove themselves coming up.
Yep.
All right. Well, last question I got for you, buddy. Most underrated team in the top 25 at the moment. It doesn't have to be top 25. The most underrated program in the country that you see.
I'll give you top 25. It's Clemson. It is Clemson. It is. They're underrated in terms of where they're going to be in the SEC and within the ACC. They could go 11-1.
That was my ACC champion. Do I still have hope, Cole?
They can go 11-1. Their one losses to Georgia, and then you look at how Georgia plays the rest of the year, and you're like, oh, never mind. No, that's just Georgia. And again, it's underrated in terms of there are probably about 13 or 14 teams that they can't beat, but they could sure as hell beat others. And it's just that they lost a bad game against Georgia. But the offense looked great. Defense looked great. I'll give you another one that's just I have to believe that there is just something really just God special about them. I love Shane Beamer. Give me South Carolina.
Let's go. I'm so happy to hear.
I got to believe their defense is great.
Yep.
I just need their offense to not be that. And Sellers, it's correctable. It's fun. I did a video at the start of the year, and I said, who is the most wild card team of 2024? And everyone's like, oh, you mean like they're going to be like Mizzou 2.0? And I'm like, no, I mean, you tell me this happened. They beat Alabama by a field goal and then lose by 30 to Oklahoma. I'll go, yep, that happened. They beat LSU by 17 and then lose to Vanderbilt by a field goal. Yep, that happened. That's South Carolina. They're just weird. They're just out there. I don't know what to make of them. But here's the beauty of them. The thing I love is that Shane Beamer is the most authentic version of himself, and he's not changing for anybody. People commit to people. People commit to a program, but they really commit to people. He doesn't care what the narrative is. He's just going to get these guys ready. The performance they put on yesterday, it was sloppy offensively. It's one that LSU has to worry about defensively.
I think LSU. I think it'll be a dogfight. Absolutely.
I have
congrats,
LSU
South Carolina. You have them losing?
I have LSU losing. That's my upset of the week. I have South Carolina winning. They're going to be 4-0 going into October or the end of September when they face off against 3 really good teams.
They were just absolutely so written off in the offseason. I mean, by so many people. I love the guy, and I want to believe. I love his energy and his passion. And it was just like, oh, nobody else believes. And it's like, it's really hard to see him winning some of these games. And then look where we're at now. I was floored by that result. I watched all of that quite happily. I thought Lenore's did a pretty good job. Sloppy at times, yes, but as you said, correctable. So they'll continue to grow. Big chance this weekend. Cole, that's all I have for you, brother. You gentlemen, everyone at SEC Unfiltered is incredible. If y'all are watching right now, please go follow them. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. It's at SEC Unfiltered on all of it. Go check them out, okay? And then also, please go hop on my profile on Twitter where most of you guys are watching. Follow that link to my YouTube channel, which we're on right now, and please go subscribe. It takes 2 seconds. It's free to do so. Would mean a ton. Really helps me out. Cole, thank you kindly for spending some time with us. You're a very, very, very busy individual, and so it means a ton for you to get on here and share with our guests a little bit of your thoughts on week 2 of the college football slate. He will be back on later in the season, I believe, for another recap, so a few weeks down the line. But until then, Cole, thank you very much, friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an honor. But more importantly, I don't want to hear a damn person complain about the week 3 slate. We have college football for 13 straight weeks. We embrace it. We love it. We respect it. We honor it. And more importantly, we cannot wait for chaos.
This is when the chaos truly goes down. Guys, thank y'all very much. We'll see you next time. Cole, we're not going to get a hook 'em from you, but hey, we got the hook 'em from Cole. Thank you, brother.
And also Laser Show. So, you know.
My man. All right, guys.